Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my first 2022 governor's prediction map. I probably should have done more Senate prediction maps and whatever in 2021, but that's beside the point. So let's start on the East Coast. So let's go with the easy ones first. I think Vermont and New Hampshire are probably going to be safe Republican. Of course, Virginia was about tilt, and I would say tilt, and also, well, not for Republicans, sorry. That was, a lean for Democrats in New Jersey. Um, and then I'm probably going to give Maine tilt Republican, even though it does have a current incumbent Democratic governor. The former governor of Maine is running against her. So I feel like he served for about 8 years, so I think he actually has a decent chance to win it. Because, just the national environment just probably lean towards Republicans, I think. And Susan Collins, even in 2020, did come out with a decent win. In Massachusetts, Charlie Baker's not running. Some other people are, but I would still put this probably lean Democrat. And I'm probably going to say likely and likely for these two in Connecticut and Rhode Island. I probably should have checked Rhode Island, Connecticut, but it's fine. I'll be right back. Actually, let me check that real quick so I can make sure you get the right information. So they do currently have they both currently have a Democratic incumbent governor, so I would probably say it's going to be lean to definitely likely to safe, but I'm going to put it in likely just because of the national environment. Generally, I think that, just the national environment, they do have some Republican influence, older, Rockefeller Republicans. So, they may vote Republican. I don't know. We'll see. At this point, I'll put it at likely just because of the national environment. Democrats, I'd probably put New York as also a likely state, not exactly a safe state this time election, just because they have some decent candidates. Rudy Giuliani's son, I forgot his name, is running, but I know his son's running. He may be a decent candidate in New York, I'm not sure, but I think he has a decent chance of winning. Not a great chance per se, but a decent chance. And mayor, so let's go to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, I think it just tilt Republican. I think it's going to be, the Trump candidate, maybe we'll see. I think it is a decent chance of going Republican. The Democrats do, of course, have their traditional influence in Pennsylvania, but I think Pennsylvania will tilt to lean Republican this time. Democrats in Maryland, so Larry Hogan, I don't think he's not running, I think term limits. But so what I think is going to happen is it's probably going to be lean to likely. But you know what? I'll put at lean because I feel like Lieutenant Governor, who's actually a lot like Larry Hogan, actually has a decent chance of winning. And with the national environment such towards Republicans, I think he has a fairly decent chance of winning. Now we move on to Ohio. So Ohio, I feel, would probably be a likely state. I'm pretty sure Mike DeWine's running again. I think Mike DeWine's not a loved character, but it's not he has a decent chance of winning. And decent by meaning he has a great chance of winning. Especially against the Democrats this time in the national environment. Ohio's been swinging more and more to the right. Of course, it has its interesting left. I saw this a while ago. Ohio is actually one of the states in the north that had segregation, which I found very, very interesting. If you wanted to know that. So it is a fairly conservative state. It has some southern culture to it. Of course, it is the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains. So I feel like it's going to be either likely to safe in Ohio. And that's my personal opinion. Now let's move on to the southern, eastern part of the United States. Florida. I'm going to put it at likely just because I think Ron DeSantis, he's been a strong character, going to get the conservatives out there, going to get some Democrats. He's pretty wide bipartisan support. Not really, the Democratic media just cannot land really good hits against Ron DeSantis. So I think Ron DeSantis has a fairly decent chance in Florida, likely. I don't think he'll be safe, but I think he has a likely chance of winning. It's going to be very, very difficult for one of the few Democrats who are running that have a decent chance of beating him out. South Carolina, I think it'll be safe. This is my home state, and South Carolina, it's going to be safe just because of the national environment. Candidates aren't, McMaster's not exactly a great candidate, but it's a Republican state, South Carolina. Now, this was on to a very, very interesting state of Georgia. So I think Georgia will be lean Republican. And people probably think, why do you think it'll be lean Republicans? The Democrats won last time. And that's a very good point to make. But remember, Joe Biden won by 10 points in Virginia, and they lost a lot, and they lost Virginia. So I think it'll either be I think it'll be. I think it'll be probably. I'll be back in a second. I'm back. Sorry. I think Georgia will probably be lean, just because I think David Perdue, he's won by 7 points his first time around, not as much as Johnny Isaacson, who just recently died, if I'm correct. It was a while. I mean, it was a couple of weeks ago, but still, Johnny Isaacson died. I mean, it's quite sad. I mean, I feel bad for Johnny Isaacson, former senator from Georgia. But I think David Perdue has a good chance of winning. I think he'll probably win the nomination. Get a decent bit of Trump support and some establishment voters. And I think it's just a traditionally Republican state. And I think it was not. I think it is shifting to the left, but I think it is an oddball occurrence that the Democrats won 2020. It was a very, very good amount of just Trump hate in Georgia and a lot of different things, combination with COVID, the black population in Georgia. I think Georgia will go red. Not by a tilt margin, but by a lean margin. I think it's going to be for a Republican flip, Republican state for the next couple elections. I think it's still a Republican state. 2018, won by 50,000 votes, Brian Kemp. He was more right-leaning then, and he still is, and it's still a very, very conservative state. I don't see it going to the Democrats. Even if I think Stacey Abrams is running, I just don't see it going to her. Alabama, of course, Alabama is going to be a safe state. Tennessee's going to be a safe state. Arkansas is going to be a safe state. So is Oklahoma. Texas. So Texas is another interesting one. I think Texas, of course, it's moving more blue, more left as time goes on. But I think it'll be a likely margin, just barely. Because I feel like, I don't think Greg Abbott's, the best candidate, but he's not hated by anyone. He's got establishment voters, and he gets the Trump voters on too. And I think, there'll be some backlash in the big cities, but I think the national environment's just going to knock it out of the park for him. And, Texas will be barely likely this time around in the governor's race. Now, on to Michigan. Michigan, I actually think, will be tilt Republican, just barely. I think there's enough hate against I forgot her name, but there's just enough hate against her right now. I think she will end up losing the race in Michigan to whoever it is. I mean, I think there's some good candidates in Michigan. There's a lot of good candidates. I think Republicans have a great shot at winning Michigan. Iowa, I would say, I think Iowa's probably just a safe Republican state. Minnesota, I would interestingly put this as tilt Republican. It's the national environment, and it's just generally these mid-western states are moving towards the right. So I would say Minnesota is going to vote Republican. Now, Wisconsin, I'm going to have to put it at lean Republican. I think Republicans give a shot at winning Wisconsin. It's my personal preference. We can see how well this map is. I mean, you can always compare and see what happens. Illinois, I'll put it likely Democratic. I think Kansas is not going to be a safe Republican state. Probably a lean Republican state, because it does have a current incumbent Democratic governor. She's fairly conservative, but I think the national environment will just wipe her out of the water. Wipe her straight out. I think Kansas will be a lean Republican margin, flip back to the GOP. Nebraska, Republican. South Dakota, Republican, with Kristi Noem. I think it's Kristi. I'm pretty sure it's Kristi Noem there. It's not North Dakota. Colorado, I'm going to put Colorado, depending on the candidate, I'll probably lean likely. Let's just put lean with the national environment. I think it will lean Democrat and not go Republican, but that's my personal opinion. Wyoming, of course, is going to go Republican. Same with Idaho. Now it's going to take us on to a lot of interesting states in this little, like the desert areas, like the New Mexico. And New Mexico, traditionally, it's kind of an interesting state. It had Gary Johnson as governor, libertarian candidate. But I think narrowly it will probably go Republican. I think a Republican lost out 5 points last time. I mean, it could go lean Republican. But I would probably put my bets on tilt, if anything. Close to the toss-up, I would put on tilt. Arizona, I think Arizona will probably lean to likely, but just with the national environment, I think we could probably get some decent governor candidates out. Arizona is going to be a lean or a likely Republican state, just like Texas. I mean, it's voted Democrat for a while, but I think it just has enough, Republican support, older Republican support, just wipe Democrats out of the water. So Nevada here is moving towards the right, and Clark County and all these other areas, they're moving towards the right in the last election. So I think Nevada, although it voted for Joe Biden in 2020 by about, I think, a 2-point margin or so, I think it will vote Republican, by a lean margin, just like Kansas. I mean, I think that's my personal opinion. I think Nevada will go Republican by a decent margin. Um, so Alaska. Now we move on to Alaska, and then we'll go on to California and Oregon, which I think Oregon will be. I think this will be an interesting time out, and so will California. I think. But anyway, Alaska, I would say, of course, likely Republican. Hawaii, I would say Hawaii is safe Democratic as always. This is just on the California. So California is, had a flip flop, in the, well, not flip flop, but it was very, people are thinking it's gonna be close, and Larry Elder was running that recall election. Of course, it was not close. Democrats won in a landslide against Republicans, but I think that it will be not a safe Democratic state this time. It will be a very high likely state. I think that Democrats will do a bit worse than they did in the recall election just because of the national environment. I think Republicans are just not unhappy. I mean, they were just not as... Republicans were a bit more defeatist when Larry Elder was running last time around. So I feel like the Republicans will come out and maybe get 40, 42, 43% out. I think it'll be a decent election for Republicans, better than most Republicans have seen in California in a long, long time. Of course, I don't think we'll be meeting 2004 George Bush numbers, but 46%. But I think we will see, 43, 44, 45%, a bit less than Bush. But I think we can get up there in what Bush got, maybe. If the Republicans run a masterful campaign, I don't think Republicans will win though. Now, Oregon, of course, has some Republicans there, but it's typically a Democratic state. I feel like Oregon will be just a very high lean state for Democrats. I feel like Oregon will be an actual battle for Democrats. I think Democrats might have to fight, but I think Democrats will win. So I'll put it out likely. Very low likely to high lean. So between that area, this is where I'd put Oregon. As you might notice on this map, there's a lot more Republicans than there are Democrats. And Democrats are going to have a battle on their hands in 2022, at least in the governor's race. They're going to have a very hard battle. I mean, they might just have to throw it out the window for the Senate race, which we'll talk about soon. Don't worry. Coming up probably next episode. Or not next. Why did I say episode? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, I hope you all have enjoyed my map, and I hope you enjoy seeing the results when we talk about it. I mean, of course, I'm a terrible talker. I'm a rambler over here. But I do hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you all next time. Love you all. Please remember to subscribe if you want. I would appreciate it. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Love you all. Goodbye.